Hi, this is EWhitefield, and this is my week 5 submission. So I'm just going to walk you through what I've created here. So my project that I'm going to be working on is a cookbook recipe thingy. There will be users that will be able to log in, and there will be recipes that you can add to the system. You can download pull from the system, and you can even delete from the system. So I'm going to show you how all that works. So here is my API documentation. And, oh, well, I'm going to have to update that. But it still works. So here's what I've got. So if I come in here, you can see that I've got a database that's set up in my Mongo databases. And in the cookbook database, I've got recipes and users. So in recipes, I have a single recipe for broccoli salad. You can see how many of the fields that it has. And some of the fields are arrays, just because I thought it was fun and it helps me to kind of build my whole recipe idea. All right, for the users is pretty just straightforward. It's just some information gathered about the user. So, all right, so that being said, here's the get for the recipes. You'll notice that what I have is that I have routes for the recipes, including get, post, get all, post, get a specific record, put, delete, and then I have the same thing for users, where we have a get, we have a get all, a post, a get specific, an update specific, and a delete specific. So let's take a look at each of those. So for the get all, when I execute this, you can see that it does in fact execute, and it brings up the one recipe that I have currently in the database, and that is correct. Right now I only have the one recipe in the database. And if I go to the post and I say, okay, I would like to create this recipe, I've got all of this information entered in my JSON style format, and I click on execute, and it says, okay, we've created that record. Here's the insert ID. And if we go back over to the Mongo database and refresh it, you can see we now have two recipes. We have one for broccoli salad and one for tinfoil dinner. But oh, okay, I made a mistake there, but for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to retrieve just the single recipe from the database. So recall that one right here. And you'll see that it pulls up the information for tinfoil dinner, which was the recipe that we entered in. But now I need to make some changes to that, so I'm going to update that recipe. And what I want to do is I want to update it so it says it's Aaron's tinfoil dinner. It's now going to take a cook time of 60 minutes versus the 40 that's in the system. And we're changing the top sirloin to a prime rib main ingredient. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to execute that. And you can see that it says that it executed. And when I go back to the Mongo database, you can see here it's tinfoil dinner. And when I refresh that, it says it's Aaron's tinfoil dinner. It's now moved from 40 to 60 minutes. And if you look at the ingredients list, it's now gone to prime rib dinner. So kind of cool there. And then the last thing we want to show is that we can delete the recipe. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to put in the string ID. I'm going to go ahead and execute that. You're going to see that it goes ahead and it returns a 204 error, which is basically that we succeeded. And we go back to the Mongo database and we refresh the collection, and you can see that the tinfoil dinner meal is now gone. Okay. Same thing for users. When we go to users, we can go ahead and we can execute the get all, and it's going to get the one user that I currently have in the database. And there's my one record. I can also add to this database. I'm going to move this so I can access these arrows right here. So the first one I'm going to put in is a new user. This is going to be James Kirk, if you're a Star Trek fan. So this is his information, and we're going to go ahead and add that to the database. And you can see that it says that it happened. It acknowledges that it's true. And when we come in here and we refresh, we can see that we now have a record for James Kirk. And we can grab that ID and we can show that we have in fact loaded it into the database, and it's gone to the database, queried it, and pulled the information down. But he got promoted to admiral, so he's no longer a captain. He has to be a little bit more circumspect in how he says things. So we're going to change his username from Galactic Stud to Admiral Man. He's going to put the name James in his email address now, and he's changing the preferred language from love to Terran. So we're going to go ahead and execute that. Let's make sure I got the right ID. And we'll execute that. And it looks like we've got a successful put. So we'll go back over here and we're going to see, okay, let's update this. And we can see that the information has changed. We're now an Admiral Man. It's now james.tiberius.kirk. And we've changed from love to Terran. So that all changed in just the way we would expect. And then the last thing we have is the ability to delete a user. So we're going to go and we're going to delete that Admiral Kirk that we just created. And looks like we did that correctly. And if we come over here to the database, you can see that it's gone. So there you go. Well, we're on our way, and I'm looking forward to getting next week's homework done. So have a great weekend.